Hello there everyone, welcome to my first ecological vlog and podcast episode. This is a response to the threatening and uncontrolled causes and effects of climate change. Stick around and hope this episode would provide you with the latest reports, updates, and commentaries on climate change. This episode carries the title, The Potential Effects of Climate Change in the Philippines. A vast majority of us Filipinos are probably not actively engaged with climate change and its effects. But we should all understand that this is real and it's inevitably catastrophic unless we reverse or keep it at bay the soonest. Just recently the United Nations released its climate report on the first week of April 2022, which sparked protests from thousands of scientists from around the globe. Amongst the protesters were NASA scientists, with one that went viral over his tearful protest on the current climate crisis that the world is facing right now. At the same time, a scientist from the US chained herself to the White House fence demanding President Biden to declare a climate emergency. Similarly, scientists threw red paint outside the Spanish Parliament in Madrid, Spain to protest climate change as well. And a number of protests also broke out from across Germany to protest the same. And so on with the rest of the world. Which only means one thing, that the overwhelming concern of Earth's greatest minds on climate change are authentic and should not be set aside. Their concern is in fact alarming, but how does this concern us individually? For starters, we have to look at the effects of climate change in our doorsteps. This being said, let's see the projections of leading climatologist organizations and figure out the effects that it would have, here in the Philippines. Global warming brought about by climate change will affect everyone, whether we like it or not. Even the most powerful of nations will be affected. No one can run or hide from the effects of this catastrophic climate change if we don't do anything right now. UNEP, or the United Nations Environment Programme, concluded that if all nations adhere to their commitment to reduce emissions by 2030, our planet will still warm up by at least 2.7 degrees Celsius this century. Accordingly, the Smithsonian stated that eventually, sea level is expected to rise around 2.3 meters for every degree Celsius that climate change warms the planet. If we do the math on these figures, the temperature rise of 2.7 degrees would equate to a rise of 6.21 meters this century. We might or might not be there to witness this change, but alarmingly, the effect would be catastrophic for those living in the coastal areas, where the increase of water level by this much would inundate most of the coastal areas in the Philippines, with a number of major areas being erased from the map. Oh, by the way, links are available on the description. Please like, share, and subscribe, but we do appreciate your comments as well. For projections, these following locations are the affected areas in the Philippines when the sea level rises as predicted. In Luzon we have the Upper E area, for Pangasinan and La Union, for Aurora, for Metro Manila, Zambales, Bataan, Pampanga, Bulacan, and Cavite, for Quezon, for Marinduque, for Mindoro, and for Bicol. As for the Visayas, shown are the affected areas. Here's for the Western Visayas, and for Central Visayas, and for Eastern Visayas. These are the affected parts of Mindanao, for Siargao, Dinagat Islands, Surigao City, for Zamboanga, and for the rest of Mindanao. Let's help prevent this catastrophe from happening in our own little way. As stated by one famous climate activist, Greta Thunberg, the 19-year-old who is referred to as the Joan of Arc of climate change, she said to all of you who choose to look the other way every day because you seem more frightened of the changes that can prevent catastrophic climate change than the catastrophic climate change itself. Your silence is worst of all. I am not presenting this to scare or cause panic, but to in fact encourage people to act in their own individual capacity to help in battling climate change and at the same time prepare for the inevitable. Thank you and see you on our next show. This is your host, Vince, for Fast World Facts signing off.